Walking Wake just won the biggest tournament we've had so far in Regulation G. So over the weekend, we had two pretty big tournaments. We had the VGC Trainer School tournament here over on Limitless with about 360 players, I believe. It was won by Mikel the Bestie here, rocking a Walking Wake Sun team. And then we also had a 260 player Victory Road tournament here, won by Juan. I apologize if I'm butchering the name. But yeah, one here with a Calyrex-Ice team, which is definitely very, very interesting. So jumping back over here, because I think this is, it's kind of the big story, right? Walking Wake has been a mon that has been very, let's just say a lot of people have kind of debated on how good this Pokemon would be. I was a firm believer that this Pokemon come the restricted format would be pretty good. One, I think this is a Pokemon that really needed Sun to actually function. And two, I feel like manual Sun was not the way to play it. And of course, we see it here paired with Koraidon. Which I do think is actually a very good partnership. Obviously, they are both, both dragon types, meaning they do have a bit of a fairy weakness. But right now, Fluttermane is really the only fairy type in the format. But on top of that, they also have pretty good matchups into Kyogre, which if we take a look at this here, Kyogre does not necessarily have some amazing performances here on the Limitless Tour, but over here on Victory Road, we do see two of them in the top 8. And I do think this Pokemon is pretty damn good, and I think it will just continue to rise in usage as people kind of start to figure it out and realize that, hey, Kyogre is still really good. And I think the archetypes around it are very, very solid. Obviously, having an Urshifu and Rain is never a bad thing, right? But anyway, back to this team here. Again, we see a Sun team built around Koraidon. Again, built by Mikel the Bestie here. For anyone who I guess doesn't know, I feel like I say this every time he's in one of these events. He got second place at Worlds in 2023, so a very, very talented player. Also like the best Rainbats player of all time. Just a fun bit of trivia for him. But yes, an incredibly good player. And we do see this team here built around Koraidon. Now, his team here, he has been running this for a little bit, at least the set on the Koraidon here, which is the Terra Fire with Flare Blitz and Flame Charge. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Adamant Koraidon with Terra Fire Flame Charge in the Sun can one-shot most of the bulkiest Fluttermanes. I think like the 212, 188 set is like an 80% chance just to get KO'd by it. And when you think about it, like it's a 50 base power move, it gets buffed up to 60 base power because of Terra. But still a 60 base power, attack one-shotting a Fluttermane in the Sun. It's pretty nutty. Honestly, it is very, very good, right? But then we do see, the standard defensive core as well with these guys here being Amoonguss and Incineroar. I don't know if I actually highlighted enough, but of course, the Sun core here is Koraidon, Fluttermane, and Walking Wake. Just 3 massive damage dealers with 3 support Pokemon. So obviously pretty damn good here. But of course, Amoonguss, Incin, just a fantastic defensive backbone. On this team as well, we do see the Incin with Assault Vest, Terra Grass. Obviously Grass very, very good into the Amoongusses. And Assault Vest is just really, really good, as this is probably, one of your 2 best Pokemon into Calyrex-Shadow Rider. Really Incin and Giraffe, obviously the 2 Pokemon that kind of need to deal with it for you, right? But yeah, of course, I think the Assault Vest set is really good, especially now. And again, with both Cali forms being so good, I feel like Berry is kind of average on the Pokemon. And when you're playing a Sun team like this, you're probably not that scared of Amoonguss, because again, you do have ways to it, right? Like the Koraidon, you can force out the Terra and then kind of run through it from there, right? But of course, Specs Fluttermane, Life Orb, Walking Wake, just a very, very strong combo. I really do like this Terra Water here. I've always felt Walking Wake feels like it just doesn't do enough damage, even if it gets the Hydro Steam boost in the Sun. In my opinion, it just felt very lackluster. So I do like the Terra Water, obviously buffing up the damage on that. And I'd be really curious to know if this was special attack booster or speed booster. So hopefully he does kind of, come out and say that, or potentially even Joe UX9. I wonder if he actually streamed the run. He probably actually did, so I might even better go check that on his stream. But yeah, I do like seeing this because I do feel like this Pokemon, while it has the ability to deal a lot of damage, it felt like a lot of the time, at least when I tested it, it did deal not too much damage. But of course, Giraffe, final one on this team here. Obviously, having Trick Room, it's not something you're necessarily going to be clicking a lot on this team. Obviously, Flutter, Koraidon, and Walking Wake are all very fast Pokemon. But obviously, it is also really good to reverse Trick Room on your opponents. And not to mention, Giraffe right now is just one of the best answers to things like Calyrex-Shadow Rider in the game. Not to mention, Helping Hand with 3 massive special attackers, or 3 massive attackers, I should say, is always pretty good. And one thing I guess I should mention as well, Incineroar in Sun actually is quite strong. The Flare Blitzes do quite a lot of damage. But yeah, really, really cool team here by Mikelda. I really hope he makes the team public. I kind of doubt it, as I do know he's kind of in, the runnings for Worlds once again. But yeah, I would love to see him potentially, give more thoughts on it. So yeah, check him out on Twitter and whatnot, guys, if you haven't already. Very, very talented player. Then, of course, we have my rival here, Joe UX9, running a Calyrex-Shadow team, right? This is kind of what I think a lot of people really think Cali will kind of lean towards. I know I was talking to some of the top Australian players about it, and they were saying Calyrex-Shadow balance is probably the way to go. And this team here, I think, is incredibly good, right? Obviously, you've got the Calyrex-Shadow here with the Nasty Plot, and then you pair it up, which is the 3 best, defensive pieces in the game right now. You've got Incineroar, Rillaboom, and Amoonguss. Obviously, double Fake Out. You've got Intimidate. You've got, the Grassy Terrain Recovery. And of course, you've got Amoonguss, Redirection, Side Pollen Puff, you know, Sporing stuff, all that good stuff. And then, of course, Raging Bolt giving you a secondary mode here with the Carmine shenanigans. Obviously, Leftovers plus Rillaboom is pretty broken. We saw what guys like Brady Smith did with it, you know, back in Regulation F. And yeah, I definitely, you know, I can see why he's running this. It feels like if you get a Carmine up, it's kind of a second restricted legendary, especially with the defensive backbone this team has. And then, of course, Urshi Rapid here, just kind of, you know, rounding out that Firewater Grass Core. Not to mention this team kind of, I don't want to say it lacks physical damage, because obviously Incineroar and Rillaboom do actually do, you know, a bit of damage, but obviously Urshifu does a lot of damn damage. And having a strong water type is never a bad thing, especially too because this team may have issues, you know, kind of running through some of those, you know, Kyogre teams. Obviously, you have the Raging Bolt, but again, they can potentially position around it, you know, Carmine, Raging Bolt, plus like Taunt Thunderous. I could see, you know, giving this team quite a lot of problems, which I do think is a big reason why Joe has the Terra Dark plus Rage Powder, simply because you can just redirect those taunts from, of course, the Tornaduses, which, you know, will do nothing. But yeah, very, very cool team here by Joe. I do really like Terra Ghost plus Sash. I think it enables you to deal a lot of damage while having that defensive piece, of course, with the Nasty Plot and the Focus Sash. Taking a look at some of the other teams here, we do see a Terapagos team. I'm not going to talk too much about this, but is this one of the specs Terapagoses? Nah, it's not. Okay, it's one of the Carmine sets. Obviously, still really, really good. It's a pretty solid backbone here. We see the Golden Go once again. I've been saying it to, you know, my friends for a little while. Golden Go always feels like this mon starts off bad in a format, but always finds a way back into it because its ability is broken, a fantastic typing, and of course, choice specs Make It Rain is, even just Make It Rain in general, is just never a bad thing, right? But yeah, really, really cool team here around it. It's honestly, it is just kind of protect the queen with the Terapagos. And of course, if you need some immediate offense, you've got the Golden Go. But I do really like seeing the Clefairy here as well. I think Clefairy is a really good Pokemon in the current format. And of course, things like Tornadus, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Incineroar, you can't go wrong with them. Just really, really solid mons. We do see another Calyrex-Shadow rider in top 4 here as well, which is really funny because people on Twitter have been saying like, oh, look at this, Caly-Shadow is a fraud, blah, blah, blah. It's not getting top 8 in any of these tournaments. Yeah, look, when a lot of the top players come together, you kind of start seeing what is really good. And obviously, we do see 3 Caly-Shadows here, if my math is not mistaken. Yeah, we see 3 Caly-Shadows in the top 8. We also see 2 Koraidons in the top 8. So they, you know, those 2 Pokemon kind of just dominated there with what do we have here? Also a Zacian and a Zamazenta. And what is Terapagos? Of course, we just spoke about it. But yeah, so it is really cool to kind of see, you know, a bit of diversity there. But I do think Koraidon and Caly-Shadow are definitely the 2 Pokemon kind of pulling away right now as the 2 premier, you know, restricted legendaries in the current format. And I think a big reason for that is like, one, Sun just feels really, really good with Koraidon. And the partners it likes to play with, like, of course, Fluttermane, Walking Lake, you know, Raging Bolt are all incredibly strong Pokemon. And yeah, of course, Caly-Shadow is Caly-Shadow. I think it would definitely be, without a doubt, the best individual Pokemon in the metagame. I think it is a better Pokemon than Koraidon. Koraidon just has that added benefit of obviously making, you know, some of these Sun abusers a bit better. But yeah, nothing too crazy I really want to talk about here. I guess we'll look at this team here by Chase. This is an interesting team because it was kind of a very similar version of this was pretty popular with like the Tornamungus Raging Bolt with the Koraidon, but I do believe they were pairing it with the Flutterfish. But in this case, we have the Ogerpon Hurflame and the Landorus Incarnate. But yeah, still like a really, really cool team. Of course, I think Raging Bolt with Terra Electric Magnet is actually crazy. Because one thing I will say in my testing, especially with the Kyurem team I'm currently building, it really feels like there is not that many good ground types in the metagame. Because really, Groudon's kind of the best, but I mean, a lot of these teams don't care about Groudon. Like, for anyone who doesn't know, a Terrifier Ivy Cudgel from an Ogerpon Hearthflame will actually deal 60% to a Terrifier Groudon, which is kind of nutty because it's a resist and Groudon has like base 140 defense, which is like absolutely insane. It's like a really good mon. Seeing another Clef here as well, like 2 Clefs in the top 8 also kind of shows that this mon does actually have quite a lot of potential. But both times we see one obviously paired with Terapagos. I just realized this is actually Wolf's team as well. That's kind of why it's paired here, I'm guessing. Yeah, that looks exact. Yeah, that is, I'm pretty sure, exactly Wolf's team. Yeah, really cool team. We did actually kind of like recreate this and, you know, did a bit of a breakdown. So if you're interested, go check that out because I did actually do some testing with that team. But another big winner kind of I want to touch on here as well is Pelipper. Pelipper is a mon that is on the rise right now because, one, obviously it's really good into these Sun teams. But 2, there are some Pokemon that just hard walls, like for example, Caly-Ice. A lot of Caly-Ices right now are running high horsepower in Glacial Lance. And of course, with Wide Guard, it can't touch you. So it really relies on its partner to finish you off. And commonly right now, you're seeing things like Terra Grass as well to 1, dodge the spores. And of course, 2, you can still spam out Wide Guards and they have to hit you with a resisted high horsepower. Some really, really cool teams here, though. This is where you kind of start seeing a bit more diversity, right? We see, obviously, Caly-Ice here playing on like a Sunroom team, which is pretty nice to see. We see another Caly-Shadow here with like some hyper offense, Urshi Rapid plus Tornadus and some support. We see another Zamazenta. I believe this is Jack Lloyd, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he's a Sydney local player. So shout out to him. I think I've met him before at some of the regional championships. But yeah, really, really cool team here as well. Singalarian Moltres, like, still getting played is cool. I've seen people like, why am I blanking? Sableye VGC saying it's just like Yveltal at home, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, we see like Assault Vest here with 4 attacks, I should say. But a really cool thing here as well is obviously Hurricane paired up with Pelipper. I personally been testing Iron Jugulus with Pelipper as well myself. And I do think these pretty strong special attackers with Hurricane next to Pelipper are actually kind of cool right now. They do have a pretty nice niche place in the game. We also see 2 Dondozos here, but both of which are solo Dozos in the top 16. Anything else like super duper crazy here? We do see a Lunala Trick Room team. I've spoken about this core actually before as well. I think Lunala plus Ursaluna Trick Room is actually like really good. Wide guarding next to an Earthquake. He doesn't even have Earthquake. He's a mad lad. Don't even worry. Just scratch that, boy. Scratch that. But yeah, still a really good core. Obviously, 2 very powerful Trick Room sweepers. Anything else crazy here I kind of want to look at before I move on? I do apologize for kind of rushing through this. Your boy is on a bit of a time crunch today. Here's that team I was talking about earlier as well, going 7-3. Yeah, so this is like the team I was kind of touching on earlier, where you've got, these like support pieces with Tornadus and Amoonguss, and then you've just got like 4 Sun Abusers, right? Obviously Cryodon, being pretty good. But yeah, Chi-Yu, Fluttermane, and Raging Bolt, all in the Sun deal quite a bit of damage. So yeah, that is a really, really cool team. Anything else crazy? Again, we see 1 Kyogre here coming in at 19th. Again, also that's another thing. Like, this is a massive tournament. Like, we do actually see some Kyogres here, 2 in the top 32, which personally I'm a bit surprised by. I actually expected to see it with a bit more usage in this event, but of course, the regulation technically still hasn't started. At the time of recording this, we're actually 2 days away from it. So definitely something to keep an eye on as the metagame develops. But I do quickly want to look at the tab here, just to see what the most played mons are. And of course, it is just these 4. I think most people could have probably predicted that. The standard Fire, Water, Grass core here. Interesting, obviously, to see their win rates being negative, but I've kind of touched on it before. Never expect to see, the most used Pokemon with crazy win rates. Simply because a lot of the time, like, there's 224 Incineroars here, with like 360 teams. So a lot of the time, Incineroar is just playing against other Incineroar, hence why its win rate's pretty low. Seeing Fluttermane's win rate so low as well is actually really interesting. I'm guessing people are still slapping this mod on like every team, which is probably like the major issue with it. I still think Fluttermane's incredibly good, especially on Sun teams. But I don't think it's as splashable anymore, simply because it doesn't beat Calyrex-Shadow without the booster energy. And personally, I'm not the biggest fan of booster energy Fluttermane right now. I think things like Specs and Sash are just better. And because of that, I think you've got to kind of pair it with Sun. Of course, though, Calyrex-Shadow Rider is the most used restricted, just edging out its brother in Caly-Ice, which again, both actually have subpar win rates here. It's not actually until we get to like Kyogre where we actually see a restricted with a positive win rate. And funny enough too, Kyogre actually the 3rd most played restricted, with an actual like a positive win rate, which is crazy considering how few we actually saw, at least in the top 32. Of course, Cryodon here with a very solid win rate as well. Zamazenta, negative. Full build tank, that's kind of sad. Groudon, yeah, guys, don't use Groudon. Groudon's fraudulent. I think Cryodon's just so much better, at least in single restricted. I think Groudon in double will definitely have a place. But yeah, Groudon single restricted, maybe not it. Same with Miraidon. I think this mod's a little, like, as good as it is, it really feels like it has to carry, because let's be honest, as much as a lot of us, I think, want Quirk Drive to work, it's probably not good. Like, Iron Jugulus is good right now. I think you can make an argument for Iron Bundle being good right now. And that's, like, probably it. Like, Iron Hands probably still has some niche. But yeah, realistically, dude, I don't think there's many partners Miraidon wants to play with. Because of that, it probably does need a second restricted legendary to kind of, patch up some of its bad matchups, right? Because while this Pokemon individually is incredibly strong, I definitely think it has a pretty suboptimal matchup to, some of the more, most played mons. Dude, it's actually hilarious seeing Walking Wake this low, because when you have a look at this, it's just going to be Makelda carrying it, yeah. It's like 3 players out of, like, what was it? Quick math, 13. Only 3 of them went positive, which is actually kind of crazy. But shout out to Makelda, because he clearly made it work. And even this guy here coming in 30th with, with the Walking Wake. Maybe the issue here is you have the Groudon. Maybe if you have Groudon, he goes a little bit further there. But yeah, I think that's probably about it. Like, do we have, like... Apparently, Ogerpon Cornerstone had a really good showing at this event. Was it the most played... highest... Okay, Sableye technically the best Pokemon. Baxcalibur's a really interesting one, but obviously only 6 games is kind of crazy. But yeah, I guess Dondozo and Cornerstone were probably like the 2 major winners of this event. Mienshao obviously, being pretty good there as well. And then Golden Joe as well. At this point, obviously, these are just solid win rates. Actually, Tropicos. Did Tropicos come in at the 3rd most played? Why are you doing this to me? Scores. Here we go. Tropicos, 30th. Okay, so Tropicos actually did see more play than Cryodon. Actually, Zamazenta saw as much as Cryodon. That's kind of wild, dude. People like, dude, Crydon's only one. Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. Anyway, look, let's move on to the next event here because, yeah, as I said, I'm unfortunately very strapped for time today. But yeah, we do see a Calyrex Ghost Rider, Ice Rider here winning the event. But we do see 2 of them in the top 8. We also see 2 Kyogres in the top 8. And only 1 Calyrex-Shadow Rider in the top 8, which is really, really interesting. Another thing I will actually mention with this event as well, obviously, was the VR Spring Challenge. Quite a bit of money involved in this event here. Obviously, you see the winner here, you know, getting 880 bucks, and, you know, all the way down to, you know, the top 8 still getting 100 bucks, which for an online tournament is actually pretty good. It's really nice to see for the community here. But let's take a look at the winning team here, because this is a really, really interesting team. And we have seen some stuff like this popping up. I think Pelipper on these Trick Room teams is incredibly good. One, with a modest nature, it like underspeeds a lot of things still, even if, you know, you go like max. But 2, obviously, Wide Guard support plus rain support for Cali is really good. One thing you'll notice is the Callies have started going for Terra Grass, and the reason for that is Amoonguss. Like, Amoonguss just underspeed it and sleep it in Trick Room. And yeah, because of that, I think having Wide Guard, Wide Guard's nice, but having obviously Rain plus Terra Grass is good, especially too because with the obviously with the Wide Guard you can protect it from opposing Calyrex-Ice, which is obviously very, very important for this Pokemon. Yeah, we see like a really cool, you know, Rain mode here. Obviously we've got the Urshi, and the Pelipper. Golden Girl also is another really good Pokemon in Rain. And then of course you just have that balance mode, right? You've got the Amoonguss, you've got the Incineroar, and you know, Urshi again completes that Fire, Water, Grass, as well as Pelipper. But yeah, just a really cool team here, really consistent. It has a Trick Room mode, it has a Fast mode. So yeah, it has a lot of ways to catch you, which I do think obviously is really, really good, especially when you're playing in some of these bigger events. We do see a Caly-Shadow here coming in second. You know, he's got the Flutterfish combo, which again, your boy absolutely loves. Very, very interesting sets here though. We see Covet Cloak on the Chi-Yu, of course. We see the Assault Vest, the Violet, that's pretty standard. But the Citrus Berry with Draining Kiss, Terra Fairy, Nasty Plot. So probably a bulky Cali. My assumption is that that would probably live the Surging Strikes coming off an Urshifu with the Berry, which honestly isn't actually that hard to achieve. But yeah, still a really, really cool team there. I do like to see different variants. Obviously, this looks like more of a balanced team. And dude, actually, Taunt Chi-Yu is also kind of wild as well with Terra Water. I kind of worry about its lack of damage, of course. But obviously, you know, it's there to enable the Cali and the Flutter Mane, which is obviously always, you know, a pretty good thing. This team here by Oliver, though, I'm interested if this is the Specs Caly-Shadow. Oh, dude, that is the sauce. Okay, I've seen this before. This is really saucy. The game plan is, like, this one is your switch into Amoonguss, and then you just spam Terra Stellar Sleep Talks, man. Because, of course, Sleep Talk will only ever pull Terra Starstorm, so really, really cool. And, of course, you get up the Tailwind, you start clicking the Terra Starstorms, you pair it up with the Flutter... I always say Flutterfish. You pair it up with the Chi-Yu, you know, the goated fish, and you deal a lot of damage. And, of course, as well, this team also has a solid Rain mode. Of course, Torn Urshi is just never bad, right? You have Torn Shifu, you have Rain Dance, you have an Urshi, and you've got a way to win any game. It's just that simple. And then, yeah, of course, the standard Fire, Water, Grass. You're going to see it everywhere. Rilla, Incin, and Rilla, Incin, and Urshi. Just really, really good. But yeah, this set here is super saucy, man. Specs, Terra Stellar, Sleep Talk. I mean, really, really interesting, right? You're just going to lock in, and you're just going to attack, and you're going to pair it up with, you know, Tailwind, the fish. It's going to deal a lot of damage, man. It's going to deal a lot of damage. You know, funny enough, I was just shitting on Miraidon. But we do see it here coming in top 4. A choice spec set, of course, paired up with the Flutter Mane, which obviously is really solid. Flutter Mane being your main choice of speed control is definitely really interesting. I would be curious to know how slow this is. Because realistically, this is a Pokemon that is so naturally fast that with the Flutter Mane Icy Wind, you probably don't actually have to invest that much, I'm guessing, into speed to like in order to outspeed everything, or at least the Cali. I actually literally did a video on it yesterday. You'd only have to hit like 150 speed. You know what, actually, give me a second. I'm going to pull this up. Yeah, okay, so as I expected, Miraidon speed is actually that good, where if you run this, with Icy Wind support, you're literally going to outspeed, like, everything. You're also, like, just straight up faster than things like, of course, like the Urshifus with, like, Focus Sash. So that really just kind of allows you to potentially just, like, play something like this, right? You just go, like, max. At that point, honestly, you probably just split. There's, like, no real reason to actually invest anymore. Just go, like, modest. So that's really cool. You can, like, play this on Trick Room, like, have people think it's a fast Miraidon, but it's actually slow, bulky. And of course, you pair it up with the Trick Room coming out of Giraffe. And of course, the Giraffe, Blood Moon, Incin is just a really, really strong core. In terms of like a Trick Room, obviously Giraffe plus Incin is free setup. You know, you get Fake Out plus you get helping. So you get Fake Out plus Trick Room, and of course you've got U-turn into either, you know, the Miraidon, the Urshi Dark, the Blood Moon Ursaluna, whatever it is you need. And I wouldn't even be surprised too if the Blood Moon has a little bit of speed as well, just to try to, you know, use the Flutter Mane here. But yeah, like really, really cool team, really interesting take on a Miraidon team. Which is good to see. Again, like I was kind of shitting on it, but it got top 4 at the event, right? So, you know, it's a 260 player event. It got top 4. The Mon clearly can't be that bad. But finally, we actually get to talk about some Kyogre teams. I love this because I'm a huge fan of Kyogre, man. We see Kyogre here again, you know, having like a really, really solid result. I do think the Mystic Water set right now is like really good. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever like played into this, but like Mystic Water, Terra Water, Water Spout in rain does like 80% to Amoongus's. I've even had Amoongus's die to it because they just go like Bleak Wind, and it doesn't matter if you Terra. Like I Terra Watered in front of it. I took like 25% to a Bleak Wind and then just died to a Water Spout. And I was like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Like, how does Bleak Wind do so little, but then Water Spout one-shots? Obviously, I know why, right? Like, it's 75 base power versus, like, the Water Spout being stupid. Of course, Mystic Water, Terra Water, rains up. You have a better special attack stat, all that good stuff. But it's still ridiculous, man. It's dumb as. But yeah, very nice Fire Water Grass Core, of course. Insane, Rilla, and Kyogre. You love to see it. But about that booster Flutter Mane that I was talking about again, it really does feel like Flutter Mane, especially on these teams in particular, needs the booster energy. Because its job is like that secondary speed control for the Kyogre. Yeah, of course, just a really, really strong team. Again, having the draft like a Trick Room mode is really good as well. Because that's another common thing with these like Kyogres. Like a lot of the time, let me pull up the team builder. Like people are like running Kyogre like this. So you just simply go like this much speed. And then I know like people like Sableye VGC were like running this, but like realistically, if you wanted, you could like run something like that, right? And then just like split your defenses. And then under Tailwind, you outspeed everything that isn't like Choice Scarf or Booster Energy. And then under Trick Room, you underspeed a lot of the faster threats in the metagame as well. So it gives you this like this dual speed mode where you've got Trick Room if you need it. Obviously, Helping Hand plus Water Spout's like broken. And yeah, of course, you got that fast mode with the Rain Dance as well if you need it. I am super interested to see that there is no Urshifu on this team. I do think Scarf Shifu like fits really, really well with this team, especially like in the draft slot. But obviously, you know, they want that secondary mode with Trick Room. So, you know, and also the other thing is like I make comments like this. They got top 8 in a massive tournament, so like clearly they know more than I do, right? But yeah, we also see Stefan Mott as well coming in with the Kyogre, a little bit of a different team as well. Serena on Rain is, you know, this is a shout out to some of the previous formats, right? Obviously Power Whip is very, very strong in this Pokemon. It's a very strong stab move. Queenly Majesty protecting, you know, Kyogre as well. From the priority moves while you protect it from, of course, the fire moves. And obviously stopping Fake Out into something like Kyogre is like always going to be a good thing, right? Of course, we've got the Triple Axle, Helping Hand, Taunt. Just a really good, you know, utility support Pokemon. And again, Wide Lens here with the Power Whip and Triple Axle really helping it get its attacks off the great. Of course, Urshi and Rain, always good. King Gambit is also a really solid Pokemon as well into a lot of the Intimidate Pokemon. Incineroar can obviously, you know, while it's not great into some of these teams because, you know, you have ways to break it with things like Kyogre and Urshi. Of course, Terra Grass and just Fake Out is just super annoying to deal with. And because of that, I think King Gambit is also really good. Not to mention, it also just patches up some other matchups, right? It gives you a quick way, you know, through some of the fairy types if, you know, your Urshifu's gone, or it doesn't feel like a good Urshi game. And of course, Champower plus Urshifu is always strong, right? It's just like Power in Rain next to Urshi just feels like such a good combo because it gives you different lead options, right? Like you don't have to lead your Rain to like power up your Urshi because you got that Chien-Power, which again, I'm just a huge fan of. I love Chien-Power Urshi together. I think it's one of the best cores in the game. Is there anything else crazy I want to talk about here? We see another, you know, Zacian, Jesus Christ. We see another Zamazenta getting top 8, which is cool. Of course, a second Calyrex-Ice here, but again, I believe we actually spoke about this team in the previous event, so I'm not going to touch on it too much here. One thing I will say, I think this tournament actually happened at the exact same time as this event, and I'm pretty sure Makelda played both events simultaneously. Like, I don't know how he did it simultaneously, but he did it. He actually went 6-3 in this event as well. I'm probably not going to be able to go all the way down to show it, but he finished like 50th in this event as well, which is like kind of crazy. Oh, we actually see Kieran here apparently has has he actually given us a full paste? Damn, he didn't. It's the way they've implemented. Okay, it's in Pokebin, that's why. Dude, I thought we actually had like an actual open team sheet there for that, which is kind of cool. But yeah, no, like again, we see some Zacian here. Again, we see some Zamazenta. We do actually see a Zacian. I just literally clicked on one at like whatever it was. There was a Zacian here somewhere, right? It was this guy here. Yeah, Zacian. But yeah, again, we see a nice spread here as well, right? Terapagos comes in here. More of the horses. Another Miraidon actually with Suicune. Dude, that's actually a really interesting team. Miraidon plus Suicune. And you've got your own Amoonguss. That feels wild to me. Like, you've got your own Amoonguss on a team with Miraidon. That feels kind of weird, champ. I guess that's one of those things you probably just have to be very mindful of it, right? And I'm sure, you know, as a pretty good player, I'm sure though, it's something they definitely got on their mind quite a bit when playing these teams. We do see a Groudon here. You know, maybe he's not completely fraudulent, going 7-2. Some Koraidon. Is that our first Koraidon in this event? I think it is. Oh yeah, they've actually put the restricted in the first slot, dude. That makes it so much easier. Yeah, we see a bit of Japanese Sun here. Really, really interesting. Choice Banded paired up with Oh, dude, it's this set. The Scarf Eruption in Sun, baby. And of course, P2 giving you that balance mode. And another Ogerpon Cornerstone as well. I've been telling you boys for a couple weeks now. This Cornerstone's actually pretty good in a restricted format, man. Dude, and then, I mean, it's just at this point, it's just Calyrex-Ice and it's Calyrex-Ice and of course, Calyrex-Shadow here just kind of dominating the format. I'm guessing it was all X2 cut, hence why we only have 23 players. Yeah, I'm a little too early for the full usage stats, sadly, but yeah, look, still a pretty big event here, obviously. Really, really cool to see some of these Pokemon, obviously, getting some shine. It really does feel like, though, we're in a situation where it's like, there's 8 good restricted legendaries, and like, that's it. Like, it really does feel like our good friend Lunala is kind of like it's like the cutoff point, right? Where it's like, you've got Lunala here. Anything worse than Lunala is bad, but anything better than Lunala is good. Like, what's better than it? It's like the Cali forms, Koraidon, Groudon, Kyogre. You've got both dogs, Zacian and Zamazenta, and like, that's probably it. Of course, Terapagos as well. But that's probably it. Like, do we see any other restricted here that I guess Miraidon is... Yeah, Miraidon's probably a little bit better. But is like that it? Is it just them? Like, I can't see any other like restricted here that's got like a good placement. Also, Archetypes on Kyogre teams is also kind of fire. I didn't really mention that earlier. Rayquaza there, bang. Rayquaza's like Ray is probably that one step below Lunala, or like maybe it's like similar tier. Maybe they're like the Mons, but yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, you look at this now, we're down at like 5 and 4. Again, this is a massive tournament, yeah. So, did we actually see a Reshiram at 4-2? Very interesting. But yeah, anyway, that's going to be it for this one anyway, I think, guys. Yeah, again, really cool to see some of these Pokemon. Obviously, I think we kind of know at this point anyway, what is good and what isn't. But yeah, anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this one. I guess let me know down below what you think of the tournament. Let me know if there's any Pokemon as well that you think, are maybe a little underutilized, maybe even overutilized. But anyway, yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.